Guess we'll give it a second. Hey, there we go. Oh, hey, there it is. Now if it'll just focus. All right. Well, hopefully we're not doing this too excuse me. Hopefully we're not doing this too early. Just wanted to kind of jump on here and talk about some stuff, see who might be available. So we've got possibly one concurrent viewer. Hi, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. But yeah, just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about Docker and getting started with Docker, and some of the kind of pre-built Docker solutions that are out there. Recently I did a video on the Umbrel Home, and then yesterday we talked a little bit about why host, and then somebody in a comment on or a response to a comment rather, asked if I had ever heard of Casa OS, and what my thoughts were on that. That really got me to thinking about some of these pre-built solutions. Whether it's Casa OS, or in fact, let me come over here. Casa OS, Cosmos, CapRover, StartOS, host, Umbrel. They are, hey, 60 plus TV. Thanks for your comment, Milad. Thanks for your comment. Really appreciate you guys being here. The dozen or so of you that are currently here, really do appreciate you spending at least a couple of minutes of your time with me today. But I got to thinking, after we've kind of over the last however long, we've been talking about these pre-built Docker solutions, and I wanted to kind of talk about my thoughts on them. If you guys would indulge me for just a little bit while I can rant, I guess. Pups, hi, how's it going? Percy Bell, thanks for being here. Victor Luca, amazing to have you here. Yehuda Bergstein or Bergstein, I don't want to screw that up, but thank you. Thank you all for being here. Really do appreciate you. So one of the things that I've noticed about a lot of these pre-built Docker solutions, again, the host, CapRover, Casa OS, host, whatever, I think they're great for people who are in one of two phases. I think they're great for people who find a solution, whether it's host or whether it's Umbrel, and maybe there's one specific thing they're looking for on that solution, and they don't want to go through the process of setting something up. I think these pre-built solutions are amazing for that. And on the other side of that, I think they are good to get people interested in the idea of self-hosting, getting used to the idea of how containers work, and how to kind of get your head wrapped around the Docker ecosphere a bit. But on the flip side of that, when we're talking about host, Umbrel, Casa OS, the problem with a lot of these pre-built solutions is there's a lack of continuity between each of the different setups, because host and Casa OS and Cosmos and CapRover, they're all trying to accomplish a very similar goal, but in very different ways. And because there's no continuity, I think it kind of gives people the idea that that one service is the only way Docker works. And I'm afraid that if people commit too much to those solutions, that they are likely to miss the opportunity to learn more about Docker or self-hosting, whether you're using Docker or Podman or Proxmox or whatever, right? I feel like when you get into one of these pre-built solutions, there's the likelihood that a person may not fully realize the capabilities of what they have, and will just restrict them to just that one ecosphere. And maybe that's all they need, but it's definitely one of those things that's kind of been kind of rolling around in the back of my head the last couple of days, that I'm afraid that people get too wrapped up into these individual ecospheres, will get stuck there and won't know how to get out of that. And I'm wondering if anybody here has had has had run into that, or if they've had that experience themselves. I'd love to know any of that kind of information. If you guys have got anything you can relate to that. Right now, I'm going to go back through, take a look at some comments here. Henrik says that they were watching my last live stream right before this, so thanks for checking that out. Much appreciated there. Dean Allen says greetings from England. Love seeing people from all over the world in here. I've only been through England a couple of times, but it was in route or out of route to and from Scotland. It's been a month over there, a couple of weeks, a couple of different times. Really enjoyed the area. Let's see. Percy Bells has been looking for a good replacement for Plex Guide. Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean looking for a good replacement for Plex Guide? Is Plex Guide a thing? I guess I should start with that. Or is Plex Guide just a tutorial? Oh, plexguide.com. All right. Well, let's see. Plex Guide, YouTube. Okay, so this is interesting. Huh. Yeah, I'll have to look at Plex Guide. That's another one of those things that I haven't heard of, but I'm definitely curious about. Rapidly deploy multi-HD Docker containers through Ansible with local or unlimited Google hard drive space. Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to look at that. I've got no experience with Plex Guide, so I'm definitely gonna have to take a look at that. Let's see. Yehuda, glad I got your name right. I'm real garbage with names. I used to be a telemarketer. Like, I was one of those guys that would call landlines back when those were super popular still, so that kind of dates me a bit. But I would call and it was all, I had like this teleprompter on my monitor in front of me, and it would pop up and then it would ring and then somebody would answer, and I'd have no chance to even try to figure out what that name was. And I think it gave me this weird PTSD thing about reading names. I just kind of lock up on them sometimes. But yeah, so glad I got it right. Stoked to hear that. 60 Plus TV says, did you see the new Project Game Vault to self-hosted own but your own Game Vault? I think I have seen Game Vault. I'll have to double check that. Game Vault. That's definitely not it. Create your own game platform and share it with friends. Yeah, I think I have seen this, and it's definitely been something that I've been interested in. However, I run into this moral dilemma with it, and it's the same moral dilemma that I have with talking about, we'll call it peer-to-peer networking and file sharing. And I don't want to go any further than that, just because I once made a video about a way to download videos using a Docker container, and now I've got a permanent community strike on my channel. So I have to be really careful about what I talk about and how I word things. Just because of I don't want to get another community strike and risk my channel. So I will look at this and see, I will look at Game Vault and see what I can do with it with regards to keeping it on the up and up, because I'm pretty sure this one can be used for other thing. Let's see. Let's see what else we got here. Sky says, learn Docker Compose and deploy everything in any OS. Yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of the route that I like to take. Look, I use Docker Compose, whether it's in the command line or whether it's in Portainer. And I know a lot of people are purists and don't even like to use Portainer. But I like the project. It was actually what helped me start understanding how Docker Compose worked. So yeah, I agree, using Docker Compose. If you're going to get into self-hosting and you're going to get into Docker, you should learn Docker Compose and not be necessarily reliant on, again, the thing that we're talking about earlier with these pre-built Docker solutions, whether it's, the Umbrella, took me a minute there, or host or whatever, right? I feel like to really get a true understanding of what it is you're working with, you should learn the foundations and not use these pre-built solutions. I think for certain instances, again, a pre-built solution might be ideal, but I think if you're going to get into whether it's a hobby or for work or for whatever, I really feel like you should get more involved in the nuts and bolts behind it rather than relying on that pre-built thing, because again, they're all built just a little bit differently, and that can cause a lot of confusion when switching from one to the next, or from a pre-built solution to, a bare metal solution. I really feel like if you're going to get into it and you really want to get into it, then get into it, and don't be so reliant on the pre-built stuff. Let's see. Devin says, I've been following your tutorial for HumHub and it's not working. Something about LDAP permissions using Proxmox and LXC container with Ubuntu server option. Any ideas? No. And the only reason for that is the LDAP stuff. I never got into LDAP. I never tried to incorporate it into when I set up HumHub. I never incorporated LDAP. I've never used LDAP, and if you're having to go that route for permissions, you may have to hit them up on their GitHub, or if they've got a Discord or whatever. I would definitely encourage taking that route. Again, I've got no experience whatsoever with LDAP, and I don't want to give any wrong information. When NixOS from Pups there, I don't know. Let's take a quick look at NixOS. NixOS reproducible builds and deployments. Let's desktop. Hey, there we are. Let's take a look. Nix is a tool that takes a unique approach to package management and system configuration. Learn how to make it reproducible and declarative and that's interesting. Yeah, I will definitely keep this tab open and take a look. I think that's an interesting idea, and maybe that will kick me into wanting to learn Kubernetes and Kubernetes and Ansible. Maybe this will be the little kick I need to get that going. 60 plus. Why not go with GOG? Yeah, I actually really like GOG. I'd forgotten about it for a long time. And I hate having all of the different installers on my system, or the launchers rather. And I actually reinstalled GOG recently, but never thought about pointing it towards games that I had acquired from outside of any of the launchers. I'm definitely curious about that. That might give me an idea to take a look at. James Collins, hey man, thanks for coming by. I appreciate you being here. If you guys aren't familiar, James is one of my mods, one of my admins over on the Discord server. If you want to come hang out on Discord and chat with us, there's usually somebody around. And of course, we're always trying to grow that. Let me put a link in there. Oops. No, let me do that first. DB Tech. I think I've got a Discord link over here. I do. I'm going to copy that link. And then we're going to put that right there. So if you guys want to join our Discord, please do. Like I said, there's usually somebody there. We're chatting about all kinds of stuff. Everything from, Docker and self-hosting to aliens and surfing and all kinds of crazy stuff. Everybody there is a little different and brings something different to the table. Love chatting in there. Crimlon says, love Docker, Podman, and Kubernetes. Would rather use them than pre-built. 100%. I really need to get more into, like I said earlier, Kubernetes. And I need to experiment a bit with Podman. I feel like I've had a lot of people tell me that it's much more secure. And I should probably look at that because of the no root thing. But definitely going to have to look at that. Ari says, Stacks helped me understand. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've always wondered why Portainer calls them Stacks, but everybody else calls them Docker Compose. Thought it was weird. Let's see. John Lacates says, for most Docker needs, you just need to start with an old desktop laptop and learn Linux. It will help you so much down there. That's 100% correct. The first video I did on this channel about self-hosting was setting up a Plex media server in Docker. And I was using an old AMD FX 8350 that I just had laying around. I threw a system together. I put OpenMedia Vault. Originally, I put OpenMedia Vault 4 on there and made a video. And then some guy on Reddit just tore me apart because Open Media Vault 4 was on its way out and 5 was on its way in. And he's like, you're just wasting your time and everybody else's by releasing this. Go put together 5 and try again. And it really, because in 4 there was a Plex plugin. In Open Media Vault 4 you could just click install Plex and it would do it. But then to go from 4 to 5 and install 5 and get Plex installed, that's when I had to start getting familiar with Docker. And this dude on Reddit kind of was the antithesis of what you hear about as far as Reddit guys are concerned. Super helpful, answered all my questions, was very respectful, was very nice, and really kind of pushed me down the path of getting familiar with Docker and that sort of thing. So 100% agree, just an old PC. I actually, even if you don't have an old PC, like I'm actually editing a video, oops, oh damn, about this. Let me make sure that's in shot. Yeah, this Kemrui AK2 Plus, $175 on Amazon, quad core, 4 cores, 4 threads, 16 gigs of RAM. It's got an Intel N100 in it with 500 gigs of hard drive space, and it's like $175 on Amazon right now. Review is going to come out in the next couple of days for that, but yeah, just you don't need anything super powerful. You don't need a big rack like I've got back there. You don't need any of that. That's just because it inflates my ego, honestly. I like, and it helps keep the dust off of stuff. Like, well, one other thing is it looks good in the background, and that's about it. Let's see what else. Cyberpunk, hey man, thanks for stopping back by. Appreciate you being here. Henrik asks if I'm using Docker Swarm and Portainer for administrative of all the LXCs and VMs you've got. I'm not using Docker Swarm for any of this. I'm actually using in fact, you see those 3 lights kind of right there in the background there. That is 3 ZimaBoard 832s that are each running Proxmox. They are in a high availability cluster, so if one of them goes down, everything moves over very quickly. As I mentioned yesterday, I pissed off a lot of people when I switched from ZFS to NFS, but it just works for me. It's what I wanted to do. So I'm not using any kind of swarm or anything. I actually don't have any VMs set up on any of them. It's all Proxmox containers. And within those containers, I've got just a very basic Docker setup. So then I can install the 1 container per container setup that I've got, which sounds ridiculous and overkill, except that I take a nightly backup of every Proxmox container in there, so that if something goes wrong on one of them, I can just restore to the previous known good state without affecting any of my other containers that you guys might be using. If somebody's registered and I had everything in one Proxmox container and I had to roll back to a previous state, I may screw up a subscription, I may screw up a billing thing, and I don't want to do that. So I've got like 9 or 10 containers or Proxmox containers spread across those 3 nodes. And I take a nightly backup, so if something goes wrong, I can just restore. So yeah, that's kind of what I've got going there. John locates, it's got one gig NIC, which I'm a little disappointed in. But it is what it is. It's not meant to be a server. It's meant to be a small, home office, small business, that sort of thing. It's really designed at that, but they keep sending them to me, and I keep talking about them because having a mini PC around to spin up a new project if you need it is something I really enjoy being able to do. So, and it actually worked out really well for me a while back. My father-in-law's 4th gen Intel PC took a crap on him, so I sent him the first the Kemrui AK1 and got him back up and running with that, and it's more than he needs for getting online and checking his email and that sort of thing. So let's see. Cyberpunk says I run bare metal Debian box that runs Docker. It's a Celeron J900 with 8 gigs of RAM for 20. Yeah, that's it. And you can pick those up cheap, $50, $75, and it'll last you forever, because most of the stuff that I think most of us are running in our home labs is going to be fairly, it's going to be password managers, and it's going to be file management, things like that, and I don't necessarily think we need a bunch of overkill. And I'm all for overkill, but I think there's a level of practicality that I think a lot of people miss. So yeah, let's see. Yep, Cyberpunk says more than enough for Docker. who Abinov, I know it, Nayana. Look, I'm not even going to try. What do you think of Zima board and Casa OS from a security perspective, since it was made from the same company in Shenzhen? Yeah, so look, I think the Zima boards are great. Like I said, I've got 3 of them up there running. They've been running solid for like 9 months now, with 0 downtime. And as far as security, look, security is only what you make of it, right? Like you could have Fort Knox level security, but if you leave the door open, it means nothing. As far as like Casa OS, it has come a long way from where it was. I need to take another look at it. In fact, hopefully later this month, those same folks are going to be sending me the new Zima Blade, which is a new device that they're shipping out, or that they're producing right now. It is actually going to replace the Zima board. They've got actually 2 new products coming out that are going to replace the Zima board. I think when the Zima Blade shows up, I'm going to do a deep dive on it, and we're going to take another look at Casa OS. I've done one, like a video Casa OS about every 6 months or so, over the last year and a half, whatever. And I think it's time for another one, but I'm going to wait until the Zima Blade gets here. It's security is about having the right permissions set up on your files for your users. Your passwords need to be strong. You need to have 2-factor authentication. You need to, you make sure you've got a good firewall in place if you have access to one. I use Cloudflare tunnels to help further restrict access to any of my online resources, and it also obfuscates my IP address. So if you were to ping, any of my websites, you're never going to find my home address unless I screw up and leave it in a video. But yeah, as far as security is only what you make of it, and you just got to take the right precautions to make sure that you're doing the right steps for your setup to keep the right people having access and the wrong people from not having access. Let's see. Thoughts on Diet Pie? No. I don't have any thoughts on Diet Pie. I haven't touched it in a really long time. Maybe I should again. Maybe I should grab I've got a Raspberry Pi right there in one of those PC looking cases. Maybe I should throw Diet Pie on and check out again. I've looked at it and I feel like it was one of those things that I wasn't impressed with then, but maybe it's been long enough. Like with Why You Know Host, when I originally looked at it, I hated it. Now it's better. So maybe I'll look at Diet Pie and find out, if it's doing any better now. Toppy said, came to say thanks for all the content you're pushing. Even iGuides exist and it's not like a video. Okay. Let's see. Cyberpunk says they're going to make a low-end open stack cluster. That's interesting. I am not at all familiar with doing that, but I wish you all the best. Let's see. Toppy says, what are your thoughts on Chasm VNC versus Guacamole? I've been using WebTops, and it's much more responsive than Guacamole. I actually did. I did a video on WebTops without, I think, fully understanding what it could do. I use Guacamole for my remote access stuff, just in case I ever need it. Chasm, look, when I had Chasm set up, I loved what Chasm could do. I was really blown away by it. I've talked to the guys at Chasm, and they've got a lot of really cool stuff going on. And I think it's just finding the right solution that works for you. I may take another look at WebTops, but I'm a big fan of Guacamole. I've been using it for a long time. It's easy to set up. It's super easy to configure through Cloudflare tunnels. I've never had any issues with it. So I just dig using that. JD, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you being here. Do we feel like troubleshooting your Pi-hole setup with you? Not at the moment, but maybe you can shoot me an email and I can help you through it. I use AdGuard for all my stuff, but if you want to shoot me an email, we can maybe talk about that. Has been the most, John Lacate says, I think my gluten stack has been the most fun to build with all the R's. Yeah, 100%. The R stack for me, I actually did like a 4-part mini series kind of thing, setting up an ultimate media server using all of the aforementioned stuff. And I still use it, and I absolutely love it. It still gets a lot of traction. Still does pretty well as far as getting views and that sort of thing. Loved building it. My only issue, and maybe you guys can help me here, anytime gluten updates or reboots, I lose all my other connections. So maybe you guys have got some solutions for that. But yeah, I just have to go in and manually reselect the network, and it's fine. But sometimes it's not super convenient. So if you guys got ideas on how I might fix my gluten setup as to not as so that my other containers don't lose their connection when it reboots, I'd much appreciate that. That'd be great. Cyberpunk, absolutely. Security is like an ogre, and ogres are like onions. It's all layers. That's 100% right. You could have the top-notch first layer that's almost impenetrable and nothing under it, and it won't be enough. So yeah, I agree. Having multiple layers, only allowing certain IPs, only making things available with certain criteria, whether again that's Cloudflare tunnels and using their little VPN client or their DNS client, whatever the case is. Lots of layers to your security is the best route to go. Let's see. AMW Films says, any thoughts over DNS over TLS versus HTTPS? I think my only thoughts there is I need to pick one, because both of my AdGuard setups are running just over plain text HTTP, and I really should fix that. But I'm lazy when it comes to it. When it comes to a lot of this stuff, and I don't always use best practices when I should. But it's definitely something that I'm interested in and possibly taking another look at. Let's see. Lava Laugh says, I'm mainly here to say thank you. You gave me my start in home labbing and learned that this is my passion. I've learned as much from your videos as from my degree. Wow. Holy crap. I'm glad. Look, I'm glad that I've been able to help. I've always enjoyed helping people understand things. You guys may not know this, but prior to all of this YouTube stuff, I was a front-end web developer. And when we were finished building a project, it was my job, after I built the project, the front end of it anyway, I would go to the client's office and teach their administrative staff how to use it. And I could usually do a pretty good job of breaking down more complex ideas and processes into manageable chunks. And I've been told for a lot of years that I'm good at that, and that's, I think, why I enjoy doing what I'm doing with regards to YouTube and that sort of thing. Let's see. John LeCate says, I like guac better. I have my Hackintosh in a Proxmox container. That's an interesting idea. And a KDE Neon all going through guac. Well, there you go. That's awesome. Thoughts on a Docker solution to share large files over the web, more like sharing existing files, not copied? Yeah, actually. I do. Oops, I need to spell right. What is it called? There's Pingvin Share, which is not what we want. Man. Oh, I would recognize the thumbnail if I saw it. Maybe look at file. Man, that's gonna return so much. Oh, there it is. Snapdrop. Take a look at Snapdrop. Basically, two people can connect and then just transfer a file back in between. Yeah, let's take a look at that. Let's see. Researching a fix. Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one having the issue with gluten. If you find a solution for that, please set me up. Send me an email, something. DNS over Tor for giggles. Yeah, if you want a really, really slow connection, you do DNS over Tor. Is there a way to get the R suite running on the old OpsBox Docker to send the requests and queues to a different PC? I have Plex and Deluge running on my gaming PC. Yeah, when you go into Sonar and Radar and all of the different R's, there's an option in there to connect. There should be a place to put an IP address in to connect to your download client. Those should be in there. I would definitely take a look at my playlist for setting up the Ultimate Media Server thing. If I can find it, I'll be happy to share it. Again, I'm looking for thumbnails. Ultimate Media Server. Here we go. So we're going to copy that link. I'm going to paste this over here. Oh, let's see. Do you have any? Do you do anything with QNAP NAS? I don't. I haven't. I would actually like to check out a QNAP NAS. If anybody has a hookup or a connect at QNAP, send in my direction. That'd be amazing. Tech Hut, dude, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you being here. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I do that a lot. It's why I'm bad at doing live streams and why I'm practicing. So thank you guys for hanging out. I'll turn up my volume just a little bit. But no, Tech Hut, thank you for hanging out. Really appreciate you being here. Yep. Does Proxmox AMW Film says, does Proxmox LXC use less or more resources than bare metal Linux with Docker? It, in theory, uses less resources because it kind of works on the same idea as a Docker container in that it shares the kernel. So when you're loading a Proxmox LXC container, you're sharing the kernel with the host, so you're not having to load all of that in, and so you're actually be able to use fewer resources by not having to load in all of the other garbage and do translation and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully that answers your questions. Mark, you're absolutely right, and there's a reason that my volume here in my live streams is lower. Part of that is because my mic is further away right now, but also when I'm doing my video recordings, I deliberately have it low so that it's not picking up any fan noise or any background noise or anything like that. And then once I've done the recording, I normalize everything and bring it all up to a normal listening level. So I apologize for the inconvenience there, but that's what's going on with regards to that. Yeah, so there's that. Do you guys, so let me throw out some questions for you, I guess. Let's talk about what you guys like. What is your preferred bare metal solution? Is it Proxmox? Is it Open Media Vault? Is it just Debian, or like are you just an operating system and throwing Docker on it? Like, let me know in the comments, what you guys are using as kind of your base of operations for your servers. I'd love to know about that. Maybe we can get some more ideas. Unraid, yeah, I have thought about doing Unraid or checking out Unraid, but if I remember right, Unraid. Yeah, Unraid isn't free, and I'm cheap. If I'm being completely honest, that's all that is. It's not free, and I'm cheap. Let's see. Deo says Proxmox. 60 Plus says TrueNAS. 60 Plus are using Core or Scale. I'm curious about that. Jacob says Proxmox and Unraid. UCC Vance says Ubuntu Server. We've got Unraid. Tech Hut says Unraid or base Ubuntu Server installation. Business and Technology says OS with Docker. I dig that. Doesn't get any more bare bones than that. Cyberpunk says SP or XCPNG, Debian, and Rocky Linux. I don't have any experience with Rocky Linux. Maybe I should look at that. And 60 Plus also says Open Media Vault. We've got Proxmox running a 3-node cluster with Gluster FS sync between. Nice. Unraid is the best thing I've ever used, says Tech Hut. Man, why you gotta be like that? Why you gotta make me want to spend $60 to try it out? I guess I can try it for free for 30 days, can I? Huh. Well, I have a NAS box I could probably throw Unraid on and check out that only has like four storage devices, so it should be fine. Oh, let's see. Spit says I'm running COS OS over Ubuntu Desktop. Cool, dig that. AWM Film says they're using Xubuntu or Xubuntu with Docker. Proxmox is the business, sir. Split between Proxmox and vSphere. I have no experience with vSphere. I should though, probably. So 60 Plus says they're using TrueNAS Scale. I'm not a command line guy. Elite Gamer 1989 says I'm not a command line guy, so it helps me so much. And yeah, I had to bite the bullet on cost, but it's paid for itself so far. Good to know. Let's see. John Lacate says daily driver KDE Neon for desktop, and then Ubuntu or Debian Proxmox for everything else. Dig that. Started with Unraid and have a key, but switched to TrueNAS Scale. Yeah, I actually did a video. One of these days, I'll figure out which side I'm on here, where I took one of my NAS devices in here and threw TrueNAS Scale on it, and I dig it, but I don't know, it's a lot of setup, and I'm sure that there's a good reason for it, but lots of setup that I just wasn't familiar with. Let's see. James Carter says Ubuntu Docker. I use OMV6 on RPI on Raspberry Pi, but anytime it needs an update, you need to confirm the update, which is an unnecessary step. Yes and no. With that, as far as OpenMedia Vault 6 is concerned, there was a big update to OpenMedia Vault recently that screwed up a lot of people by removing the Docker and Portainer aspects of OpenMedia Vault. I made a video on it. And I was real frustrated with what they did there and kind of called them on it, though I never heard anything about it. So let's see. James Collins says Proxmox and Synology. Also has TrueNAS Scale VM under Proxmox with a pass-through for some stuff. Cool. And then Proxmox with a 4-node cluster. I thought you had to have odd numbers of nodes for Proxmox clusters so that you could have one that was kind of like overseeing the others, and you had to have like an odd number for the vote to never tie. That I'm curious about that. Tech says he was sorry, worth it. Yeah, that's fair. I'll get a 30-day license and see if it's worth it for me. Let's see. Joseph Johnson says they'd love to see use of Harvester, but swapped back to Proxmox 3-node cluster on NVMe Flash, Ryzen 3700 16-core. And 64 gigs of RAM, 200 watts total, 18 terabytes SAF NVMe pool. Holy crap, you're not kidding. That is a fast boy. Holy crap. Like my daily driver desktop is is a Ryzen 2500. Like I'm so cheap. I'm so cheap when it comes to hardware. Everybody's pimping Unraid here, saying it's really easy to use and that's the best part. Business Technology says they'd love to see a video setting up LDAP service. Maybe. Again, I would have to look into it. Demis says Unraid for the win. I love HA and clustering with Proxmox. I agree. Started with OMV, switched to Proxmox recently during the RPI. Yeah. You know, and it's funny. I actually made a video talking about the Raspberry Pi shortages and how, you know, going with recycled hardware might be the way to go. You know, you can pick up, some old, small business stuff for $75 or $100 and repurpose it and have a hell of a machine for little to no money that will do everything you need it to. I absolutely love that. Alan Sparks says Proxmox and Alpine containers running Docker containers. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, James says he likes to be different, gets bored. I get that. Windows 11 using Podman and using Windows 11 and Podman to try containers as local host. I tried Docker Desktop and just wanted to beat my head on my desk. I hated it so much. See, JD says I have an Unraid server for archive backups and Plex library location. I do think it's worth the money. Great for just the blob storage pool that can be easily expanded. Oh, nice. Cyberpunk, thanks. I don't want to waste it, so let me try the free 30 days first, and I may hit you up. And if you don't mind, actually send me an email, Cyberpunk. And I'll type it right here in the chat. Yeah, if you just want to shoot me an email, that'd be amazing. I'd appreciate that. Let's see. JD says he wouldn't recommend Unraid for production. I'm curious. What can you elaborate on that? Jacob says he's looking forward to a video of me trying out Unraid and swapping over to it. That's funny. Elite Gamer 1989 says for me Unraid OS and ZFS is the key. Last I checked, they were adding native ZFS, but for now I use a plugin. What's your thoughts on ZFS? I think ZFS is amazing. I'm going to say that. I had it set up on my Proxmox high availability cluster, and I switched over to NFS because I wanted to separate things out, and I know that honestly one of the reasons was that I wanted to reduce my overall RAM usage. And I know that ZFS, the whole ZFS thing with that is it's meant to use as much RAM as possible to serve files quickly. My NFS solution serves them just as quickly. Depending on your use case, ZFS may be the perfect solution. So yeah, I'm not against it. It's great for what it does. I just it gave me anxiety to log into any of my nodes and see my RAM maxed out. So I switched to NFS, and I've noticed no performance difference for my setup. Let's see, what else do we have here? Podman installed, container CLI, enter, done. Yeah, again, I really got to take a look at Podman. Joseph Johnson says, I've been obsessed with setting up Cloudflare tunnels. It's insane that it's free. Use it for work now. Appreciate your video on it. And Portainer. Yeah, dude, I'm glad the videos were helpful. I actually made like 3 separate videos about Cloudflare tunnels. The first couple were very generic, very basic, and I kept getting the same questions over and over and over and over again. So I went and made a whole new video that's like everything from literally buying your domain name, pointing the DNS over, the whole bit. I'm actually hoping, I chatted with the folks at Cloudflare earlier this year, and we're hoping to do some collaborations at some point this summer or early this fall, I think. I need to reach back out to them. But I love Cloudflare. I've actually been using Cloudflare for more than a decade now. Before tunnels was a thing, I used them to manage DNS for my website clients because it offers so much free security and like I said earlier, it obfuscates your IP. So if somebody looks up your IP or your domain name or pings your domain name, it's not going to come back with your real server IP address. So DDoSing a server behind Cloudflare tunnels is much more difficult unless you somehow actually figure out the IP address of the server. But if you're just going to ping a server and you find a Cloudflare IP, good luck. Not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying it's going to be harder. What else? Thoughts on Jellyfin versus Plex? I first started the channel with a Plex video, and then they were having some authentication issues on their end, and I was having a hard time getting into my system at all to even watch local stuff. So I switched from Plex to Emby, and I think I made a video on Jellyfin, but I didn't think it was enough different from Emby. Basically, I think they're just forks of each other, one way or the other. But I personally prefer Plex, and here's the reason: is that if something happens to me, like let's say I go outside and I get hit by a bus, I don't want my wife to have to try to deal with something with a smaller project like Jellyfin or Emby. I want her to be able to use Plex easily and not have to deal with a bunch of back-end stuff that doesn't make any sense. So that's one of the biggest reasons, especially now that I realized you can turn off the remote authentication, which made everything so much easier. But there are certain choices that I have to make in my own home setup that maybe I would prefer to go a different way, but for the simple fact of keeping things as simple as possible in case something happens to me, there are certain things I just won't do to my home network to make my family's life easier. Even though it might make my life easier to go the other way, it doesn't matter. I don't go that route. Docker Desktop's a great tool for beginning and understanding. Yeah, I'm going to take your word on that, Deo. There, I'm not going to go back to Docker Desktop. I don't have the use for it. Elite Gamer says ZFS saved me from what I thought was going to be a total crash. It took me 45 minutes to stand Unraid back up and mount ZFS. Then all my Dockers came back. That's amazing. Tunnels brought me to Cloudflare. Yeah, no, I love Tunnels. T-Texter, how's it going, man? Glad to have you here. Spit says I like the idea of Jellyfin, and I'd be using it if it weren't for the fact that my Plex server has 20 plus user. Yeah, basically. UCC Van says, by the way, IP and Docker, a lot of people don't know that UFW on Ubuntu handles ports, but they do not apply to Docker ports. That is interesting. Good to know. The difference comes down to external user simplicity for me. Plex for everyone else that I might share my library with. It's just, yeah, I agree. Um, Ari McBrown says, good rule of thumb, set up your home lab as if you'd be run over by a bus tomorrow. That's such, man, I may steal that. That's a great tagline. Um, James says, MB Jellyfin, there's a level of technical skill required for them. Yeah. Is it safe to host sites from the Cloudflare tunnels on LAN, and anything that doesn't use Cloudflare tunnels hosted on the DMZ with port forwarding? I mean, you can. That's the cool thing about self-hosting, is there isn't just one right way to do it. I was talking to somebody yesterday that showed me this whole other way of doing things that I will probably never implement because it is complex and convoluted all at once somehow. But I really dig the Cloudflare tunnel thing. I don't want to have any ports open if I don't have to. Let's see. JD says, using Unraid as a storage for VMs, since the disks are not in RAID, the speed is down to the drive speed of your slowest disks. Either parity or the disk that holds the data. SSD cache can help. Yeah. Excuse me. I've got I've got NVMe cache set up on all of my stuff, just because, like I said, it makes things so much better, especially when you're dealing with like a Plex server. Like my wife and I, we've got a fairly, probably not as big as a lot of them out there. We've got a decent sized Plex server, and one of the things that I noticed once I've got the NVMe caching in is that, like, once we had watched an entire run through of whether it was Supernatural or Bob's Burgers or South Park or whatever, it got stored in that NVMe or SSD cache. So next time, instead of it taking 10 or 15 seconds to load the next episode, it would spin through the numbers real quick and the next episode was up. So I absolutely love having that extra cache in there for that. UCC Vans said they got to go. Hey, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you being here. Glad to know that I'm even known in Switzerland. That's a real weird feeling for a guy coming from a small town of 5,000 people growing up. So that's pretty cool. Oh, let's see. Jacob says, Ombi dished out to all 20 of my Plex users, make my life so much easier not having to handle all of the R's. Yeah, I really dig that. Really, I've only got one external person using my system, and if they want something, they just email me or they send me a message. I had Ombi, I had something else, Overseer. I had Overseer set up for a while for the same thing. Loved it. Joseph Johnson said, do you like to mess around with zero tier? It is in many instances can serve as a replacement for an LS VPN on Palo Alto side. So yeah, I actually did a video on zero tier a while back. I say that it was more than a year ago. And even since then, it has come a long way, and I dig it. I really like the ability to spin up a network, install some agents on my different pieces of hardware, connect them all together, and have them effectively off grid, off of the public internet, but still able to communicate with each other. A friend of mine, I had another NAS device that I loaded up and built for a friend so he could have a Plex server in his own house, but I put zero tier on it. Or was it Tailscale? I've done videos on both, but I put either zero tier or Tailscale on it. I think it was actually Tailscale now that I mention it. But that way, I can remote into his system and do maintenance and that sort of thing. It's a couple of friends. They're not techie at all. So I was like, hey, I'm going to put a backdoor into your system so I can log in and maintain for you. So yeah, whether it's Tailscale or zero tier, I absolutely love them. They're great ways to remotely share stuff. Again, securely and off of the main facing internet. DJ Scratch is glad you're on today. Thanks. We'll be emailing you about the remote control stuff. For you to pick my brain on the late reply. I have your email. Perfect. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. Angad Sodi. I run Plex on my Synology NAS, so my wife doesn't have to deal with SSH and the stuff just in case I pop off. Yeah. So I've actually got I've got one NAS that is just Plex. That I just have running, and that's all it does is it serves Plex, and then it actually pulls the data, the actual video files from my Synology server, and I have no issues with it at all. Jacob says big family here. Yeah, that's a lot of people. That's 20 people. Cyberpunk says Unraid is unique because data is saved as is saved to full files on the disk, and parity is stored on dedicated disks, so the speed is limited to the parity in the single disk speed. Interesting. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to put Unraid on one of these NASAs I've got back here just to check it out. Dimas, I hope I got that right, says I'm watching you in Cyprus, which is a small island in the Mediterranean. Dude, that's amazing. That's amazing. I've heard of Cyprus. I've never been there. I would love to go check that out. That would be great. Portugal also would be very cool to hang out in. I'd love to check that out. John Lacate says Tailscale is amazing. As soon as they get their iOS Android issue resolved, I want to host Headscale myself. You know, I've got Headscale listed as one of my upcoming projects that I want to do a video on. I haven't had a chance to do it yet, but it's on my list. Joseph Johnson says he's out of Utah. I can't tell you how many times I've been through Utah. I mean, I live in Colorado, but like all of my family is in Idaho. So when we drive, which is most of the time, we go through up north through Wyoming and then down through Utah and then up through southern Idaho to get there. I've got some friends in Utah that we hang out with and stop by, hang out with them. I don't think I could live in Utah. I've got my reasons. Jacob says I got a jet. It's been a joy watching you live. Keep it up. Thanks so much for hanging out, Jacob. Appreciate you. Business of technology. Do you have thoughts on Matter? Is it stable yet? I haven't dealt much with Matter. I need to do some more research on it. There's so much tech out there that I often get tech fatigue. People will ask me questions like that, and it's like, that sounds really cool, and then it gets put on a list, and then I have to like remind myself to go look at the list, because the list gets longer and longer and longer with new tech and new services and new stuff, and it gets to be so much sometimes that sometimes I just have to take a day and just lay in bed and watch bad horror movies, because sometimes there's just too much tech out there for me to keep ahead of. Regards from Belgium, Nicholas. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate that. Standard router, something like PF Sense. Need something to dumb it down for me. So Angad Sodi, I hope I got that right, asks, can you please do a video on moving from a standard router to something like PF Sense? They're interested in setting up VLANs, but need someone to dumb it down for me. Lawrence Systems is kind of like the king of PF Sense. If you haven't checked out Lawrence Systems, definitely do that. He's got a lot of great content on PF Sense. What else we have here? AMW Films, do you use PF Sense or OpenSense as your firewall router? I actually use an entire Omada system from TP-Link's business side of things. And I worked with TP-Link a lot over a lot of years. And they... I think it was Raid Owl had actually been like, hey, they had an entire Omada set up, and I was like, hey, TP-Link, I sent them receipts basically showing how much money I had generated for them through my Amazon affiliate, and I was like, how about you send me an Omada setup? And they let me cherry pick what I wanted. So I went with a full Omada setup with the firewall and the whole bit. Love it. I talked about this yesterday, but I definitely need to do kind of an overview of my network setup, so you guys have an idea of what I'm using. Part of the studio tour that people have asked for. I definitely need to do a network tour, because I love my network. I've only had a couple of issues with it, which I'll talk about then. But yeah, love the Omada setup. Let's see, what else do we have here? Too much tech. Yeah, absolutely. John Lacate says I'm really getting interested in Matter because of the use of HAOS. I don't know what that is. Angad Sodi, my favorite YouTuber channels to follow. If you actually go to my homepage for my YouTube channel here, I've got a bunch of them listed as far as other tech tubers that I follow and chat with on a regular basis. But here's the thing. I don't watch a lot of tech YouTube. Like, I watch Linus, I watch Jay's 2 Cents, I watch Kyle every once in a while. I know he's kind of moved. Oh, HOS. Oh, Home Assistant. Okay. But I watch a lot of cars. I watch a lot of car channels. Let me actually pop over here and see. Let's see. Alex Steele, English kid that is a blacksmith. I dig him. Let's see, 100 more. Man, lots of stuff in here. Let me see. Awesome Open Source, I think, is on that list. If not, I need to put him there. Bitwit, of course. Charles Bertu. So I play a little bit, very little bit of bass. And if you're not familiar with Charles Bertu, dude blows my mind with his bass playing skills. Just gives me shivers. It's so crazy. Who else we got here? Chris Fix. Another card channel, Coffee House Crime. I've been getting into some of the crime stuff here a lot lately. CoffeeZilla, if you're not familiar with CoffeeZilla, he does a lot of cool stuff. Colin Furs, do DIY Perks, Electro Boom, Frogleaf Studios. Leo is this dude from Scandinavia somewhere. I hope I'm not getting that wrong. Does covers of all kinds of different stuff. Like almost every Friday, releases a new music video. Great stuff. Hard Up Garage sometimes. Harry Mack, again, another freestyle rapper, amazing. Hoonigan, I like to make stuff. Who else? Jerry Rig Everything, of course. Lawrence Systems, Learn Linux TV, Legal Eagle. Lockpicking Lawyer, love Lockpicking Lawyer. Would love to learn to lockpick. It's kind of one of those little secret fantasies I've had to learn to lockpick. Mark Rober, of course, you can't go wrong with Mark Rober or Marquez Brownlee. Matt Armstrong, I love watching him. Seems like a really good dude. Hangs out with his dad. They build cars together. Really dig that. Mighty Car Mods. Uncle Roger, if you're not familiar with him, you should be. Nerd Forge, I dig them. What else? Who else we got here? Man, so much. Sam Crack, Scrap Life Garage, Simone Yurts, I dig her. I've got a really wide range of stuff I watch, and honestly, so little of it is tech. I try to see what other people are doing out in their lives too, outside of just the tech arena, and sometimes I get little thoughts on how I can change my edits based on what I see with these guys. And yeah, so I watch a real wide array of stuff. Let's see. Oh man, I have missed some stuff. No internet here is pretty good. Wow, the internet over there is pretty good, man. Home Assistant, add a DNS comparison, OpenSense versus PFSense versus Pi-hole. That I think I would refer to hardware. Damn it, where'd he go? To Tom. I would refer to Tom for that, man. My brain. There you go. My brain really just dumped on me there. What else we got here? Favorite car channels I love. Savage Geese. Salvage to Savage is another car one that I really dig. I actually found them. They rebuilt a DeLorean. That's actually how I found them, and I've been watching them ever since. Hey bro, good to see you. Matt Armstrong, dig him. Luke Pryor says, hey bro, good to see you're streaming. Are you still using Cloudflare tunnels at all? Every day, all day, nonstop. Everything I do, everything that, like, if you guys access any of my self-hosted stuff that's on the servers back here, it's on Cloudflare. The stuff that I host for myself that I want remote access to, it's Cloudflare. Everything is Cloudflare tunnels for me. I love their security, that sort of thing. Just absolutely love it. Let's see. Oops. Lytton, I hope you're feeling better. I am. I'm feeling better. I'm still dealing with some medical stuff. I've got a lot of doctor's appointments to make and that sort of thing. Honestly, still kind of recovering. Not as bad, but still a little recovering from the wisdom teeth out a month or so ago. But that is just because I don't have an immune system and I heal slower than most people. But yeah, lots of doctor's appointments coming up to go over some stuff. But doing better. Thanks. Appreciate that. Really do. I really love Colin Furs, Chris Fix, love Frog Leap, hell yeah. Gloma Killer, glad to have you back, man. Good to see you here. I recommend Trains with Shane if you're into model railroading. And of course, yeah, you know, okay, I'm gonna look you up, Shane, because I feel like I ran across your channel recently somehow. Let me see if these are the thumbnails Yes. I don't know how. I ran across your channel the other day, and um, I really dig that hobby. Look, it's not for me. It's not. It's, but I love that there are people out there who love these things. Um, my grandfather on my mom's side, real convoluted story there, but he had an entire room set up for his model trains to run around and do their thing. Absolutely love it. I love watching it every once in a while. I got to ask, what's your favorite scale for the model railroading? I know that there's a lot of different ones, and I'm curious about what your favorite scale is. Dan, Fontenot, I hope I got that wrong. Fontenot, maybe. Thanks for all you do. Enjoy the content, learning about software I haven't heard of before. That's like I said yesterday. I love finding new projects or small projects that nobody's heard of and sharing them, so that they get the recognition that I think they deserve. So I'm glad that that's useful for you. Um, let's see. Watching Pole Barn Garage as of late. I'll have to check them out. Uncle Roger. Yeah, I love all of his little innuendos and his, I'm sorry children, just dig it. My wife will often watch over my shoulder when she's in the other room. Let's see. Outside of tech, I watch woodworking content. Yeah, that's awesome. I yeah, I get into some of the 3D printing stuff every once in a while. I've got a printer back there that I use when I need to. I don't necessarily do a lot of frivolous printing anymore like I did when I first got it. But I really do. I dig 3D printing. I love the functionality and how far it's come in a relatively short amount of time. Let's see. Luke says it's awesome to hear about the Cloudflare tunnels. You're also using it. That's great. Tavarish, I watched Tavarish. Loving the new front end, that new carbon front end he's putting on his P1. I think that is a bananas project that he's trying to undertake. But it sounds like he's getting a lot of help with it, and like I said, I love that new carbon front end he's putting on it. Looks amazing. What else? TrueNAS was hot storage and unrated for cold. That makes sense. All the time. I work in IT. Maybe that's Shane. Maybe that's where it was. Is I saw that I was like trains with Shane and clicked it. In scale is your main. All right. Wow. One of 160. That's crazy. Let's see. Love car channels. This is Crimlon. If you like combat fight sim videos, growling sidewinders. I've never heard of them, but I might have to check them out. Technology Geek, I am live streaming again. I have decided I got to start doing it, and my birthday is in less than a week, and I want to start building this habit so after my birthday I can be streaming more and more and more. Because, I think it's one of the areas where I have failed as a creator is not like I mentioned or have mentioned. I find a topic, I do the research, I figure out how everything works, and I make the video and I upload it and I share it a couple of times. I answer some comments, but that's it. And I kind of feel like that's selfish of me to not be more engaged with you guys. Look, you guys are helping me out so much by liking, subscribing, watching, becoming a channel member or a patron, joining dbtech.fans. All of those things have given me the opportunity to live a relatively comfortable lifestyle with a lot of freedom. I took most of July off from creating content. And while my bottom line was absolutely affected, I was still able to pay my rent. I was still able to do what I needed to do because of you awesome people. Seriously, I had to take some time off for physical and mental health reasons. Then I had 2 people in my family die in July. Then I had oral surgery in July, and it was no good. But you guys seriously helped me maintain my ability to pay my bills, and the comments that I got from you guys, the affirmation, the support that I received from you guys was overwhelming some days. It meant and it means the absolute world to me that there are so many people out there who support what I do and are trying to keep me in a position to keep doing these things. And I thank you guys so much for that. Let's see. James Collins says Retro Game Core is awesome. I have to check them out. I don't do a lot of retro gaming. I've got some retro gaming that I do, but I'm not nearly as into it as I want to be, if that makes any sense. Like I really miss the way games used to be, and they're not like that anymore. But I also don't have the attention span that I used to have, so the retro stuff doesn't really do much for me as much as I would like it to. And despite having hundreds of gigs of ROMs, it's yeah. Excuse me. Joseph Johnson says, "Are you familiar with Next DNS? Advanced DNS security for free, or for high query count $2 a month. Incredible. They make it available to HomeLab, premium cost from other vendors." No, I'll have to look them up. I feel like I've heard of Next DNS, but I haven't actually worked with them. So that might be a video or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it happens to be. Let's see. Any recommendations for cheap online storage? I found iDrive 20 for $150 yearly. You might actually look at Amazon. I know that there are some other creators who use Amazon AWS for their storage. Some of them use their deep freeze or whatever it's called. That is super 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 cheap, but there is a time delay. Like once it's up there, it's a time delay to get your data back, and it's like 24 hours or something. So, but it's not bad. But I would definitely look at AWS for online backup storage. A little bit of red patch as well. Thankfully, nothing medical, but work, relationships, etc. were weighing me down. I didn't upload for even. Oh yeah, Shane. It can be brutal, and I'm glad to know that the stuff that I've put out there is evergreen enough to let me take a break when I need to, and knowing that you guys are out there supporting me gives me the confidence that if I need to take a few days or a week or a month, which I hope to never have to do again, but if I ever have to take time off again, it's so refreshing and heartwarming, I guess, to know that there's all these people out there supporting me, and it means the world to me, and my wife for that matter. She's been super thankful that my time off didn't affect us quite as much as we thought it might. So that's been amazing. James Collins like, what, you don't like $60 games with $2,000 worth of DLC? I mean, when you put it that way, there are other implications with that as well that we won't go into too much here. But yeah, no, I love having the ability to play almost any game that's ever been invented, but I just don't do it nearly enough. So, also, Steve Saunders, dude, thank you so much. I think that's 2 days in a row that you've gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. They're still waiting to go through. I was actually disappointed yesterday when I went to my homepage and my channel members weren't there. They weren't showing, and that made me sad. But I'm sure it'll come through. It'll be fine. Interesting. Huh. Maybe. Huh. All right. Well, my channel's being dumb. YouTube's being dumb. Something. There it is. All right. Cool. Just had a minor heart attack. I went to refresh the page to show, and it wasn't there. So, yeah. Anyway, Steven Saunders, thank you again for the gifts, dude. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I'm hoping that those will start showing up on my homepage here soon. They should be right at the top once they go through. Yeah, I've got next DNS open, so I can take a look at that. James Collins says that's why he doesn't do a lot of current gen gaming. Yeah, I get it. Change with Shane, thank you, appreciate you. Let's see, DJ Scratch, do you watch Kevin Talbot for RC cars? I'm into helis and planes and race quads, but I've been watching. I haven't. I had a quad. I've had a few quads over the years, but they were always very. Let's just say they weren't DJI, right? They weren't that quality. They were very inexpensive, and they were fun to fly around until they didn't fly around anymore, and it was fine. I honestly think, like, I would love to have a DJI or something similar. Just for when I'm out doing stuff, I'd love to be able to get some aerial footage that every jerk on the internet has. I would love to be able to get my own, just so I can be that jerk as well. I've seen some of these cars that'll do like 200 miles an hour. These RC cars, that blows me away. Honestly, I think it would be fun to have a drift RC car. I've seen some of those that that I just love. I've always loved drifting in like video games and that sort of thing. And I would love to have an RC drift car just because. But Lewis Bullock, I almost said Bollocks, because I read ahead and it said greetings from the UK. Louis, I apologize for screwing up your last name like that, but thanks for hanging out. And I agree, Steven Saunders. YouTube is almost always being dumb, but it's part of the way I pay my bills. So you just got to do what you got to do here, I suppose. Yeah, DJ Scratch, I agree. All games are just add-ons from the previous games these days. Yeah, I get it. I'm actually really disappointed in Hollywood right now. Taking all of the strikes and all of that out, going back even to last year, the year before, it just seems like everything is a remake of something from my childhood, right? Like, whether it's Ghostbusters, whether any of the new Ghostbusters, or just any of the new movies that have come out aren't new movies. They're stories being retold with a pre-existing name attached to it, and that really frustrates me. The amount of money that is going out just doesn't seem proportionate. I don't know. I hate the idea that there aren't new ideas being come out with more regularly. And I've been watching some other stuff that's not quite as mainstream, I think, as my own retaliatory thing, to stick it to the man, so to speak. Let's see. AMW Films says I had to create a DMZ network with port forwarding because of the Cloudflare tunnels 100 meg cap. Yeah, I get that. I haven't had any issues with any kind of caps, though I can't say that I have. I've run into. I think I've uploaded anything that big. So maybe that's the stuff. Maybe that's the thing that I haven't experienced. Maybe that's why I haven't had that issue. Technology Geek says, yeah, agreeing with you on the movie front. We need some new stuff. And then immediately Business of Technology said, granted, but most of those stories we consumed when we were younger were recycled also. I agree. However, I feel like the recycling cycle on this has been 30 years versus 50 or 100. Like when we're looking at some of the fairy tale stuff that was originally Brothers Grimm 500 years ago that gets retold as Cinderella. There was a big gap in there, and they retold the story differently to make it Disneyfied, so to speak. And I don't think we're getting enough of the differentiation from one old version to a new version to another new version to another new version. I feel like there's just something missing. I just hope they're able to fix it, before too long. There's no imagination in movie and music. The industry, right? Numbers are very limited. I agree with that. I've always been a big fan of TV shows, just consuming media in general. And I hope I don't upset anybody here too much. But like when mumble rap became mainstream, I lost a lot of faith in the music industry. Like, while I understand that it isn't the only thing out there, I was real sad to see it go mainstream. But I could say that about a lot of different types of music. And I don't know. I feel like everybody is sampling everybody else and looping it and then talking over it or whatever. And I don't feel like there's quite as much originality as there probably could be. Let's see. No Imagination movies. What's old is new again. Yeah, I mean, basically. And I agree. The recycle of recent times has been poor works, less creative. The only good recycled throwback or tributes I've even partially enjoyed were Ghostbusters Afterlife and Top Gun Maverick. Everything else has been a slap to the face with the originals. You know, I've actually got Afterlife on my server, and I might even have Maverick. I don't know, but I have. You're not the first person to say almost exactly that same thing. So that's good to hear from somebody else as well. I'm waiting for live action Toy Story, live action Finding Nemo, live action Cars. I mean, they did it with Little Mermaid. It's hard to say how they'll do it, but yeah, I'll be curious to see. Do I like Lupe Fiasco? I feel like I know that name. Fiasco popular songs. Shows on Superstar, Battle Scars. I feel like I've heard of some of these, and obviously I can't play them to find out, but I don't know. I don't know if I like Lupe Fiasco. I couldn't answer that one way or the other. Francesco says, hey there, 2 nights in a row I find DB Tech live streaming awesome. You help me so much find the best self-hosting solutions that suit me. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for hanging out, stopping by for at least a couple of minutes to say hi. I really do appreciate that. I'm trying to get in the habit of live streaming more. One of these days I'm going to come up with some sort of a schedule that I can stick to so that I don't have to keep doing these impromptu things. I think right now I'm just trying to kind of shake off the dust, the cobwebs, the whole thing, and get comfortable with live streaming and kind of getting used to the stuff that you guys don't see below the screen or in front of me or whatever here. Again, I need to get another Stream Deck set up, whether I build a custom one or whatever. But I think that would simplify my life a little bit here. But yeah, I'm trying to do more live streams, and hopefully here soon I will be able to schedule something that'll give me the opportunity to be more consistent for you guys and myself, and then we can just plan on having date nights, if you want to call them that. So Maverick was very, very good. I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah, because of Family Guy, anytime I see Tom Cruise, I think of tiny Tom Cruise who ends up being friends with Stewie. And anytime I see Tom Cruise, I always think of tiny Tom Cruise, and it's harder for me to take him seriously as a result. Even taking out or setting aside all of the other stuff. I know he's a good actor. I know he does all of his own stunts, or most of his own stunts anyway. I know he does a lot of the stunt coordination and that sort of thing. But yeah, I always think of tiny Tom Cruise, and I have a harder time taking him seriously. The infamous Toto or Tutu says, I think now is the time to start doing K8S videos. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. I need to learn Kubernetes. I do. I enjoyed Ghostbusters Afterlife. I felt like the original. See, I've had other people tell me that they felt it was that the new Ghostbusters movie, the Afterlife, was a good homage to the original, and that really gives me some hope when I go watch it. See, Lupe Fiasco has a lot of amazing lyrical songs, but his biggest is his song Kick Push. That one does sound familiar. I will evaluate that later, and then we can maybe talk about that in another live stream. Business of technology. I like to make things weird whenever I can, even when I'm hanging out with my friends. I will often say the wrong thing on purpose just to make things as weird as possible. So, yeah, we may start having DB Tech date nights here on the channel. Just cause, why not? Trains with Shane says, I'm loving the live streams. If there's anything I can help get you back in the zone, let me know. Even if we're talking trains, RC cars, Dockers. Dude, thank you. That really means a lot to me. Definitely, guys. Again, check out. If you guys want to keep chatting, even when I'm not live streaming, I do have a Discord server that I'm going to share here again. And I need to get a bot. I need to get a bot in here to help with some of this. What do you, Collins? Thank you, but. Dude, aren't you already a patron or something? Let's see. You're the one who helped me using Docker. Oh, that was weird. I wanted to. It has, yeah. I I really need to get into Kubernetes and get that figured out. Maybe I'll spin up a VM and do that. Glad to know that Collins is here for date night, and I'm glad to know that Weird is your people, Shane. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I really do. Oh, it says I've got an excellent connection. Am I lagging out real bad here, guys? I'm confused. Because like my OBS says I'm doing fine, but when I look up at my dashboard, I keep lagging out. I may have to call it quits. Huh. Interesting. As long as it looks good to you guys, I'll hang out. Cool. It could just, I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna ignore it. Any health updates from Pups? Um, yes and no. Um, 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 we're still working on some of my pain management stuff. Um, Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. I do that. So we're working on some pain management stuff, getting some of that set up. I've actually got to find a new primary care physician or PCP. I always have to clarify that because I don't want people to think I'm doing drugs like that. But yeah, so I need to find a new primary care physician who can manage my meds and who can also help me manage my pain meds or who can get me set up with a pain management solution. I'm not on any pain meds presently. Hydrocodone doesn't work for me. I've got a weird tolerance to the opioids. I was never addicted. I never abused any of the opioids or anything like that. I've just always had a super high tolerance to those types of drugs. In 2016, when they had to put me in my first coma, they had to give me dangerous levels of the concoction they give you to put in a coma, or to put you in a coma to get me to stay down. They gave me the normal amount that they would give anybody else, and I just kind of looked at them like, so when are we going to do this? So they gave me some more, and I started slurring my speech a little bit, and then I was like, and so when are we going to do this? And then they gave me some more, and it knocked me out for a little bit, and then I kind of came back out. They took it multiple times to figure out the right dosage for me, and it's just been a crap show ever since. Let's see. You want to do a quick, simple Kubernetes environment. Canonical has a product called MicroK 8S, and you can manage with Portainer. Yeah, I'm going to look into that first because I'm familiar with Portainer. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to take a look at that. Yeah, PCP a whole gallon. I mean, man, can you imagine? We're not going to get into that. That's a lot. That's all I'm going to say. Shane, thanks for hanging out, man. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for all your kind words. Your support, really do appreciate you. Donald Mole, hey, how you doing? Glad to have you here. You must be a zombie. I mean, maybe sometimes. I have a hard time sleeping. Some of it's pain related, some of it's mental related, some of it is insomnia related, just as its own separate diagnosis. They found something for me that called hydroxyzine. Trazodone doesn't work for me. Hydroxyzine does, and it's way less of an issue with regards to like the morning after hangover and that sort of thing. I really do like the hydroxyzine. But like when I first got out of the hospital, yeah, it was a brutal process for them to get me to go under. But after I got home, because they had been pumping me full of so many drugs for months, in and out of the ICU and in and out of different step-down units and whatnot. Yeah, like when I got home, the insomnia was so bad I could take a hydrocodone, a Flexeril, and a Trazodone 3 times a day and still not sleep. It was awful. I hated it. It's better now. It's absolutely better now. But yeah. Let's see. Are you doing any videos on HA? Docker Swarm clusters, server goes down, Nextcloud Docker full backup. I've actually thought, and maybe this is something that I need to chat with Linode about doing a video series on. I've thought of getting another couple of, or setting up a couple of Linodes over on their server and load balancing across there. So if my internet happens to go down, hopefully everything will kick over to there. I've considered doing that, but I'm not sure what that process would look like yet as far as extreme levels of redundancy. That would actually be, I guess, co-location now that I think about it. But I think that's maybe something I might look into doing. Trazodone worked for me if I went to sleep 30 minutes after taking it. Anytime after it kept me awake. Huh. Yeah, Trazodone's the weirdest thing. And it doesn't work consistently for me. So yeah, I've switched over to hydroxyzine, and it does everything I want it to. It knocks me out quick, and I don't have a hangover from it the next morning. Francesco, I absolutely have. I live in Colorado. Though those are separate statements. I've been in Colorado for 16 years now. I do have my medical card for that. And it is something that I help take the edge off at night when the pain is too much, or when we've got guests over. Sometimes I will get overwhelmed by having too many people over, and I will use that to kind of bring me down a notch. But it's for me. I will use it recreationally, but primarily I use it to bring myself down so that I can sleep, or so that I won't be anxious, or whatever the case is. There's some really good solutions here in Colorado for that. So, infamous Toto, Linode's a good idea. Most of us are using Home Lab, and I don't think Linode will be much useful for us. My in-laws are actually pretty decent people. Luckily, though, they all live 1,000 miles from me out west, so I don't see them very often. I've seen them a couple of times this year. My father-in-law, my brother-in-law, I guess they live in Idaho. My sister-in-law lives in Boston, and my mother-in-law lives in Oregon somewhere. But yeah, I don't have to see them very often, and it works out pretty well. And look, I say that I actually, I can say the same thing about my family. I've seen them a couple of times this year for different reasons, but I'm glad that there's 1,000 miles between us and them. We get along really well, but we would be in the middle of everybody's drama all of the time, and I hate it. So, Donald Mull, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm glad. I'm glad my videos are helpful, and I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. I really do. Try to make the videos that I make as helpful as possible for what I'm doing. Could a load balancer like Nginx or HA proxy be used to load balance traffic between hosting sites? Goes down load balancer point to the load nodes. Cyberpunk, I actually think I would have to look into Cloudflare Tunnel load balancing, just because that's what I use for all of my remote access stuff. And I'm sure there's a way I can do that. I would just have to, I'd have to figure out how to go about it, and I don't know what that process looks like just yet. In fact, this may be a case of where I'm going to have to actually open some ports. I don't know yet, but I may have to look at doing some of that. Technology Geek, I'm glad you brought that up. He asks, did you get host running after yesterday's stream? I clicked off the stream yesterday. Went in, got myself another glass of ice water, was chatting with my wife, went over to my desk, sat down, spun up a new VM, and it just deployed with no issues. I was so frustrated when it just deployed with no issues, that we spent some time on here yesterday and it wouldn't deploy, and then it just went and deployed with no issues. So I don't know, man. I don't know what my problem was yesterday. But yeah, no, I absolutely got it back up and running. I'll take another look at it, but let's see. Live stream sessions help us know how to make. Oh, hold on. These live sessions help us let you know how to make them more aware of our experience. Yep. Don't disagree with that at all. Kemp Load Balancer has a free edition, and it's great. It can be run as a VM. Huh. Yeah, I'm gonna copy that because I've never heard of Kemp Load Balancer, and that sounds awesome. Copy. Come over here. I've got so many tabs open down here. I'm gonna paste that. Do you know of any Nextcloud Docker? Yeah. So the question from AMW Films is, do you know any Nextcloud Docker full backup solutions? If it was in Proxmox LXC, would it be easier to back up? It absolutely would. You'd be able to take a full snapshot of your Nextcloud instance, not just necessarily the data, but the entire container, and back that up to hopefully a different server. And yeah, and that's how I do everything. Everything gets put in its own LXC container. In that container, I deploy Docker and the container or containers I need for one specific application, and then I do a nightly backup of that LXC container to a different device, so that if something goes wrong, I can redeploy, or I can redeploy that single backup without affecting any of my other containers. I've gone probably more granular than a lot of people might, but I'm super paranoid, so that's why I did it that way. Kemp is good, but they limit you to 20 megs. I don't know. We'll find out. Virtual Load Master. They've also got a 30-day free trial, so that's cool. Resources, man, they've got a big nasty website. I say nasty, like lots and lots of information and pages and integrations, and yeah, that I'll have to look at that. It's nightly. Yep. Use Debian 11 LXC on mine, and then install their script now up and running. Yeah, that's basically what I do. I use a Debian 11 or LXC container, install Docker on it, install my containers, and then I do a backup. Business of Technology. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you being here. Nice to have some familiar faces in here. Donald Mole. Okay, so JD is confirming the 20 meg limit. So that's good to know. Yeah, I'm going to look at Cloudflare tunnels. I will obviously look at Kemp as well, but I think I'm definitely going to look at Cloudflare tunnels for load balancing, so that I can duplicate the stuff I've got here over there. And if something goes down, hopefully everything will stay up, if that makes sense. Oh, also, exciting news on my... excuse me. Wow, I bit my tongue. Collins knows this because he's in my Discord, but I'm getting a symmetrical 1 gig fiber connection installed this Friday, and I'm so excited about that. It will actually affect you guys more than me, probably, because when you guys hit my servers, you'll get more than a 35 meg connection. You'll get something way closer to a gig, so it should go a lot faster. So I'm super stoked about that. And with some of the other stuff I do, like uploading YouTube videos on a 35 meg connection sucks. So having that 1 gig up will be really nice. So yeah, let's see, anything else going on in here. Docker, HA proxy, okay. All right, well, man, we've been at this for an hour and a half again. I think that's probably where I need to call it, if I'm being completely honest, guys. I think an hour and a half is probably a good cutoff point here. You know, we started things off with me talking about my thoughts on some of these pre-built Docker solutions, not necessarily even harping on the Umbrel Home. That's its own beast in and of itself, but whether it's Casa OS or Umbrel OS or gosh, I've got a list of them over here. Cosmos, Cap Rover, Start OS, Yuno Host. You know, we talked about that for a little bit, and why I think people shouldn't use them as much as maybe they do. I really feel like if you're going to get into it, then you should get familiar with Docker Compose, and you should get familiar with Proxmox, or whatever your hobby of choice is. And I feel like using a pre-built dashboard that lets you install one of a dozen applications or whatever, I think it's too limiting. But yeah, that was the original gripe that I wanted to get out here and chat with you guys about. And I love how these things go all over the place. I love to have just kind of one main topic to kick things off, and then just chat with you guys. I'm digging this. I hope that we can keep doing this. I hope you guys will keep coming around. Like I said, if you want to support the channel, the best way, the easiest way, of course, is like and subscribe. Steven Saunders has given away a few memberships over the last couple of days. In fact, 10 memberships over the last couple of days. So thanks to him. If you want to support the channel, there are ways you can do that. I would actually, honestly, unless it's a live stream, I would encourage you to not donate any money through YouTube. They take a huge chunk of it, and I've got to wait usually a month to get it. So if you want to support the let me try that again. Holy shit. If you'd like to support the channel financially, so I even have a hard time saying this. You can do that through PayPal. You can do that by going and joining dbtech.fans. If you join Patreon now, that money will hit me at the end of the first week. That sort of stuff. So if you want to support the channel, like and subscribe. If it's financial, don't do it through YouTube. It's a mess. Ari says, is there a schedule for the live shows? Not yet. You're okay, dude. You can come through. Let me move some stuff, though. 1 second, guys. Let me get the kid out. All right, dude. Go ahead. Off you go. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. You gonna go swim? Awesome. All right. Yeah, this is just the easiest way to get to the swimming pool. So there is not currently, to going back to Ari's question here, there is not currently a schedule. Right now, I'm just kind of trying to shake off the cobwebs and the dust, get myself comfortable with running the show here for an hour and a half, and so we'll probably do a few more of these, and then maybe next week we'll start talking about doing a schedule 1 or 2 nights a week or something, or afternoons a week, kind of see how that goes. But I also want to make sure that I'm not overlapping with any of the other tech YouTubers that I'm buddies with. So I'll figure something out. I will try to get that figured out soon, and we can just start having date nights here on the channel. So anyway, thanks to everybody who stopped by. Really do appreciate you hanging out, chatting. Let me know what you got going on in your lives, listening to what I've got going on in mine. Appreciate it. And here I will talk to you guys again here real soon. So take care.